Why am I nervous? Hello friends, I'm Kayla. The first video on this channel ever was posted November 2014. So it has been exactly 10 years. My time here has been beautiful and I'm ready to close a chapter. I'm ready to move on and shut down my channel. Just kidding. Nobody bought that. I, in fact, am kicking off a year-long extravaganza celebrating 10 years on BookTube. You know how some people have their birthday, but they're like, that's not enough. I need a birth week. I'm taking a whole year to celebrate my 10 years. So by the time that's over, I'll have been here for 11 years. I needed to post a video just like this to memorialize the moment, but I want to do a lot of things within it. I'm not sure what it should be. Part of me is thinking, oh, it should be sentimental, it should be loving. Like, is that really my personality? I mean, yes, I want to thank you. I want to thank you so much for being here. Some of you have been here for 10 years. Some people have been following me for over 10 years, which is a little like, you spent that much time with me? I guess my husband's put up with me for 16, so you can do hard things. What I want to do in this video is just have a, oh, I don't know. Well, I don't have a plan, first of all. I think I want to tell you like what I'm going to be up to for the next year, what I'm thinking, what I'm pondering. I also want to ask you if you have any ideas or thoughts. Okay, so, oh my God, let me structure this. There's going to be 12 different videos over 12 months celebrating 10 years on BookTube. They're all going to be a different thing. Some of them are going to be vlogs. Some of them are going to be sit downs. The first one is actually going to be this upcoming weekend, and it's checking out the Goodreads awards from 2014, since we're in Goodreads Choice Award season, and reading some of those nominees. The vlog is going interestingly. Some other vlogs that are to come are going to be reading some of the books that have been on my TBR the longest. So going back, looking at a video from 10 years ago, looking at my shelves, seeing what I have yet to read, which is going to be horrifying. I'm going to reread some of my favorites from 10 years ago, 2014, which is going to be horrifying. One of my ideas is to read from authors that I haven't read in like 10-ish years. So I'm excited about that one. I also am going to recreate my first ever vlog on this channel. So that should be interesting. And then for sit down videos, speaking of recreating my first of something, I'm going to recreate my first tag video. I don't even remember what that was, but back in the day, I used to do Tag Tuesday. And I know there's a lot of things for me to choose from. I'm also going to do some type of quiz for my husband on my channel, 10 years of my channel, to see if he knows anything about me. I want to do a top 10 list at the very end, hopefully definitively narrowing down my top 10 books of all time, but also my 10 favorite, I don't know, videos or creators or whatever you'd be interested in hearing about. And then next month is going to be a Q&A, a 10-year Q&A. So I would love to put out a call officially right now in the comments for you to put any questions any questions I've ever ignored that I haven't answered, any questions you just come up with that sound creative, or something you've wondered, or something about, it can be anything. Books, me, my channel, like whatever. You can make it juicy, you can make it dry. So that's my plan. Every single month you're gonna see something from me reflecting on 10 years. Oh, and on my anniversary, if you're a channel member, I'm doing a 10-year live stream. We're gonna be reading, I don't know what we're gonna be doing, maybe playing Dress to Impress. We're gonna hang out. I've never been live that long, so wish me luck, come hang out. If you wanna gift me something this holiday season, it can be a membership. Why am I so incapable of being like any other YouTuber who's just like kind and grateful and thoughtful? I'm just like, no, you come be a member. It's a good time, I promise. Speaking of not being like other booktubers, I do feel always like silly. I know you'll tell me not to because you're all very kind individuals. I feel silly talking about 10 years on BookTube or asking for like questions because it makes me feel like I am this incredible booktuber who like everybody wants advice from, or like, look at what I've done over these 10 years and let's talk about it. Because back when I started this channel, it was because I love making videos. I'd made videos for years about my life as a mom, and not that my life as a mom had stopped, but the types of content and things that I was talking about just weren't really relevant, and I didn't want to keep talking about this certain things. And as a young mom, I was desperately trying to find hobbies and what I cared about and who I was. And I found reading again after years. Everyone who's always like, how did you get into, like, how did you find time as a mom, like as having a baby, having a newborn, having a toddler, how did you find time to read? I didn't. It wasn't until he was 4 years old that I got back into reading, and I started making a few bookish videos. I was making monthly favorites videos on my other channel, along with everything else that I was doing. One time I had read enough books in that month that I was like, I need to make an entire separate video, my monthly favorites, and then not just a couple books that I read, but like the 15 books that I read. So I made a whole separate version. And then after that, I started making a little bit of book stuff. Like I did a book tag and somebody commented and said, you should join BookTube. And I was like, oh my God, what's BookTube? So my passion for creating content and my passion for reading just mixed perfectly. But I didn't start this channel to, you know, kick off a career. I didn't want to become an author. I didn't want to start a business, get rich, get on TV, go to all of these events. I don't go to events. I've just been chilling in these same four walls for 10 years talking to you about books, and I've been having an absolute blast. But I think my channel trajectory doesn't look like other people's. My goals don't look like other people's. So that makes me think, how is it useful for me to talk about my journey here? But it is, like, you have watched me find some of my favorite books. I have helped you find some of your favorite books. So I'm gonna walk through 10 years of videos and how it was from my perspective and how I felt about everything and how each year individually could be summed up. First, just a couple like stats, I guess, or let's just look at me from 2014 to 2024. Hi everyone, I'm Lala and I'm so thrilled to be making this video today. It's a little scary. I have a few more wrinkles, a few more gray hairs. The side bangs are gone. My teeth are straighter. I definitely have some more prominent eye bags. And I have someone very talented who takes care of this, so I don't have to figure out how to make it be the color I want. All in all, I'm the same girl, just with a deeper voice. And nothing brings me joy more than making content and reading books, reading at my own pace, doing whatever I want, and having a lot of opinions. 10 years ago, these were my bookshelves. I bought this thing when we moved into this house. When we were carrying it up the stairs, we broke off all of like the banisters and stuff, bringing it up the stairs because we had to drag it. It was not a smart move, but we brought it up fully built because I bought it off of like Facebook Marketplace, and that was something that could hold my TV and all of the books that I owned, which was around 100 books in my tiny house. That's just what I could figure out on that wall. When I first bought it, somebody had painted the backdrop like this horrific green color, and I so badly wanted a color-coded bookshelf, so I painted the background the color of the wall in the house. And then I went to this thrift store called Share, and I started buying books because they were only $1 each. That just fit the color scheme, so I could have colors on each shelf. I hadn't read the books, I hadn't planned to read the books, I just wanted to have things on the shelf. Also worked really well as a background for videos, so I was thinking about the aesthetics from day one. My unread books and my read books were all mixed together, and nowadays I own, I think, 1,300 books. There are a lot here that are on my TBR. My TBR and my read books are separated. I have a couple hundred in the closet that I will read one day. And I have 675 on my it's now my 4 and 5 star shelf. Everything that you see out there is a book that I loved. Well, with a couple exceptions, but whatever. And then behind it, there's a whole nother layer of other books. So that's the difference between me now and then, my bookshelves now and then. What else? My reading habits. Back in the day, I pretty much would say, oh, I'll read anything except for fantasy. Nowadays, I don't know that there's anything that I would ever say I don't read. And the difference in my filming setup is I was making videos with a DSLR back then, and now I use a point and shoot. I posted 2 times a week then, I post 2 times a week now. Here's what my Instagram looked like in 2014 versus now. I don't think much has really changed, but I was definitely posting a lot more standalone book reviews on Instagram. I was also reading ebooks more than I don't read any now. It was pretty much exclusively thrifted and ebooks, and now I buy a lot of things. I use the library a ton, and I check out quite a bit of audiobooks. I started my channel with like 2 bookish friends that I brought with me from the mommy community who also liked reading. I didn't bring with me, they're their own people. And now I have 155,000 of you. Now enough about me. Let's talk more about me. Trip down memory lane, if you will. Let me know at what point you found my channel. What stage was I in? What were the vibes? Like I said, I started at the end of 2014. I've always been somebody, if you want some advice, don't wait for like the first of a month, the first of a year. Do the thing at the very most inconvenient time, at the strangest time, because if you just start when you're passionate about something rather than waiting for an arbitrary date to start, I think you'll see more success. I started my mommy channel when I was 37 weeks pregnant. Everyone else had been making pregnancy vlogs for months, and I thought, I'm 37 weeks, let me start now. When I started my booktube channel, it was November, the end of November even, 1 month left in the year. Why did I start then? So 2015 was my first full year of booktube. I posted 2 videos a week, all talking videos, no vlogs. It was like hauls, I'm just looking through my channel, TBR videos, adaptation stuff. I did a lot of standalone book reviews and monthly TBRs every single month. Like I said, I did the tags every Tuesday. Liam wasn't in school yet, so he was regularly in my content sitting on my lap, like just in the background. You could hear him doing stuff with me. It was about halfway through the year that I did my first vlog, and I actually started with daily vlogs. So I committed right out the gate. Every day during Booktubeathon, you were gonna see me. Back when I didn't know what a readathon was, and I called it a bookathon. I also started a series on my channel, the Bookmarked news series, which was about books, adaptations, authors. I was covering a lot of stuff and it was really fun to do. I also did my first TBR shelf tour in that first year. I have the same shelves now, just double the amount. I also started doing quarterly updates. I didn't realize like the staples that I have now, I started doing so early. Every 3 months I would update on my favorites and share all of my stats. But I would just post a photo of a book. It would just scroll through photos of the books and I would just be listing the titles. That was my quarterly updates. I also like dipped my toe into the idea of doing guides for authors because I thought it was a good way to organize things and feel useful. So I started with Stephen King, and it was the most views a video had ever gotten on my channel up until that point, like 100,000. So naturally, being me, I privated it soon after and waited a whole nother year to the next one. Oh, every month on my channel had a color scheme, which I really love doing, deciding on a color and making it cohesive. As far as what I was reading, it's heavy YA books mostly. I was trying to get into new adult romance, which is what I was supposed to be reading. That didn't go over well. And then after a year of being adamant that fantasy wasn't for me, I discovered paranormal stuff and urban fantasy and realized that I do love things like The Raven Boys and Mara Dyer. I read Carry On that year. I discovered A.S. King, Jandy Nelson, Renee Ahdieh, and Andy Weir that year. Those are some of my favorites. There's some videos here that I think would be really interesting to rewatch, like the book artist tag talking about beautiful books and my bookish wish list, which is interesting. So I might do some bonus members videos reacting to old videos on top of like the monthly thing that I'm doing publicly. Booktubers I was watching at this time, I know I was inspired by Heather, Priscilla, Riley, and Yessie. And this year for learning, like my takeaway from 2015 was I learned what I liked to read, I think. I learned what my taste was. I explored a lot of different things. And I learned what I liked to watch. I learned how important editing is to my enjoyment. As much as the content is important, the editing is just as important, and keeping things concise and throwing in the book cover and stats and things popping up on the screen. The people who were doing that, I really appreciated that and made sure to take that forward in my own editing. 2016, since I discovered my love of vlogging, I pretty much vlogged a readathon every single month. That's what I was focused on. Hey guys, it's day 1 of Diversathon. Readathon day 5.
Why are there lines over the people?
Because I connect people, if they're friends, if they're in love.
Oh, if they're in love.
I think the thing I've predicted from the very beginning is what to happen, but I didn't know if it would actually happen.
I also became a co-host for my first ever attempt at a book club. I created and co-hosted my first readathons. I hit 10,000 subscribers, and I tried doing like really helpful content. One about a video about pronouncing author names, recommending YA anthologies, explaining what an anthology is, terminology guides, and then started doing some more critical content, or what I would have considered at the time critical content. Number 3, saying you own me or I own you. No, that has so much graphic violence. I don't think I'm ever gonna pick up the sequel. I saw negative content kind of getting attention on my channel, so I did some of that. And then also I found a love of the library and was really promoting library use, and also the idea of diversifying our shelves was really top of mind for me. I did my first paid sponsorship this year with promoting Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children, the movie. My first physical ARC was ever sent to me in this year, and it was my first time really enjoying like adult general fiction. It was my first time reading this isn't related, but Emily Henry, my first time reading Sean McGuire this year. I discovered Station 11 and We Are the Ants, which are still some things that I consider favorites or favorite authors. It was also the first time I did a reading year in review, which is my favorite thing to do at the end of the year. I was commissioned to make a chalkboard sign for a bakery, and so I just had this huge chalkboard sign in my house and decided that I was going to use this as the backdrop, and I could write on it and I could stack up the books and I could do all of my stats, and I loved doing it. I read 145 books that year. The year before I read 137. So like right out the gate, I was doing numbers. The people who were inspiring my content the most were Allie, Jessie, Shannon, Paige, and Whitney. I think that year I learned a lot about collaboration, celebrating other creators, participating and supporting them, and that being just as valuable to me as anybody supporting me. 2017 was the invention of the closet unhaul. It was a really important time for my channel. I became aware of how the first couple years of my channel the buying was really excessive, not in dollar amount, but in sheer volume. And so I said, I have to read this book or I have to get rid of it. That was the concept. Next up, we've got Mr. Penumbra's 24-Hour Bookstore by Robin Sloan. I've heard a lot about this book. Don't really know what it's about. Okay, I haven't read that. I have another copy of it. It was the first time I did a reaction to something and it went over really well, and that came to be a significant portion of my channel, is watching and reacting to things. My channel was growing a lot. I got like 5,000 views a video the first couple years, and then this year, my third year on BookTube, I was getting like 10,000 views a video, and on hauls were getting like 30,000. Because of that video series, everything was really scheduled and I didn't have a lot of time for other things. So I would fit in like other vlogs. I would fit in like recommendations and tags a lot. So a lot of sit down content and not a lot of vlogging happened that year, because I also didn't want to give away what was happening in the closet unhaul. So you had a reason to like watch at the end of the month. I so much wasn't vlogging what I was doing, but I was coming up with these creative ideas and I was filming them without doing any reading in them, which is so weird to think back on now. My most creative standalone videos up until that point, I didn't even read in them. The one where I was buying books from Instagram, I just bought them. I didn't read them. The one where my husband buys my books, I didn't read them. That's also the year I started getting so much PR and books sent to me, which I was really grateful for, and then started to become really overwhelming over the next couple years. And I ended that year making a video that is still the most watched on my channel, which is 7 ways to organize your bookshelf, because I bought the white bookshelves that year. I used my BookTube money. Thank you all so much for watching, watching the ads on my videos, watching that Miss Peregrine's Home sponsored video. I have no idea how much I got paid for that. Probably like $100 to buy my dream Billy bookshelves from IKEA that I still use now. The books I found in this year were like The House at the Bottom of a Lake, The Hate You Give, The Mayor of Thieves, Dress Codes for Small Towns, and my favorites video was 4 minutes long, which is so weird to think about. I got through all of those books in 4 minutes. People who inspired my content who I really loved watching that year were Marina's, Max, Natasha, Alex, and A-Marie. I think a learning lesson from that year is I learned when to call something, when to end something, when to be okay that I'm stopping something at the peak of popularity, because I know and I have confidence in myself that I have something else in my back pocket that's going to be even more exciting for me to make and hopefully for people to watch. 2018, I had so much enthusiasm for BookTube. I had the closet unhaul wrapping up and I thought, this is going to be my year. Like oh my God, I have all of this free time and I have this audience and I'm just going to do every creative idea I can possibly come up with and also read the books in the video. So I was so stoked to do that. And then I got my first full-time in-office job. It was an opportunity that just kind of landed at my feet, and it was a let's do it for the plot kind of moment. BookTube and freelance was paying me just fine, but this would be like great for my resume, great for connections. It was fun and it was different. So I went with it because I also wasn't about to let up on my passion for BookTube. So I was doing essentially like 40-hour a week in office, 40-hour a week on BookTube. Posting twice a week was still my goal, and now it was like as ambitious as ever. And I found ways to make it work and feel fulfilled. I did like monthly bullet journal organization videos, which was really helpful because I didn't have to be on camera for them, and I could film it, you know, ahead of time. I was stockpiling so much content. I didn't have time to film after work most days, but I had time to vlog. So then the weekend I was filming like 2 to 3 videos every Saturday because I wanted to make sure I had one day a week with just my family. Liam was in full-time school, which made it easier, and videos that I made were like,
I'm going to find books that have similar covers to my favorite books, read them, and maybe I'll find some new favorite books. I'm going to watch another booktubers TBR for April, and I'm just gonna read all the books that they're reading. Read all of the books that are finalists in a certain category on the Goodreads Best Books of the Year 2018 awards thing. Reading the 5 lowest rated books on my TBR.
And then other random content, like my husband runs my Instagram. I did the 30 book recommendations from the dictionary word of the day. I became an affiliate for Page Habit, for Book Outlet. I kicked off the Buzzword Readathon that year. I kicked off the Read-A-thon. I started co-hosting a bunch of other readathons. It was like I wasn't taking on enough with just the content. I had to do all the things outside of it too. And I hit 50,000 subscribers, and it really felt like my time was paying off. The people I was watching the most were Monica, Reagan, Cece, Oshale, and Zoe. And I learned that year that longer content has a place. I think before that point, I was trying to make things short and quick and fun and easy to watch, and then realized I love longer content. I love watching it, and there is a space for it. Not everything has to be super digestible. And it was also the year I probably realized that there are different reasons that people come to watch my channel. Some people are here just for the content, just for the ideas, just for like the fun of it all. Some people are here for me and my personality and my reading. They're interested in what I'm actually reading. And some people are here just for book recommendations and ideas and to get a look at publishing and like what's coming out. And if we have similar reading tastes, they get that from me. And there is a smaller group of people who are here for all 3 of those things. That was a really important discovery for me, that people do actually care about me and my reading. And I think it affected the content that I decided to make, because a lot of times I just wanted to be useful. I just wanted to provide knowledge. I wanted to provide information. That was coming from, you know, 5 years of doing cloth diaper, breastfeeding, you know, attachment parenting, baby wearing type of videos that I wanted to be of value. And realizing I didn't have to just add value, or entertainment is just as valuable. That was a learning lesson for me. Another learning lesson for me, 2018 was just huge, because it was also the year that I had to start relying on other people. My husband taking my child, our child, like he's a super hands-on father, always has been, but like Saturday was an extra work day for me, and I had him with him all day, out of the house, doing whatever, and like letting go of like knowing what my kid was doing all the time was something really difficult for me. I also started putting him in like an hour of before school daycare because of what time I had to be in the office. And that was huge for me. Asking for help in my personal life is not something that has ever come easily, and 2018 was an important pivot for me. 2019, it's burnout season, naturally. Everything that I just listed in 2018, how am I not going to be burnt out in 2019? So I slowed down my content. It was difficult for me to swallow, but I went from like 8 to 10 videos a month to 6 to 7. And I felt like I finally had enough books under my belt after making content for 4 years that I could do a lot of recommendations. So that's what I leaned towards in this year.
Books that have a podcast element. We're gonna be talking all about camping, books set at camp. Today is Island Books. I'm gonna give you 10 book recommendations. I'm gonna go through the requests that you sent in, books about space, but not actually set in space.
I also had enough videos under my belt to start making reactions to things and realizing how fun that was.
And that'll definitely be my last try with her. Oh, I hope I love it. Little do you know, bitch, I have too many books, if that's a possible thing. You have too many books? You have too many books. Did I read those books? Let's find out. Number 10 is Cassandra Clare. This is shameful for the sheer fact of this is one of the most talked about series. It kind of felt like 2016 BookTube again, where it was just fun and silly, like challenges came back, tags came back. And while the first half of the year, I know that I was really struggling,
I think I found my footing in the second half and I started doing ambitious things again. I can see that I did like month-long challenges. I did the not reading books for a month, reading the same amount of pages every day for a month. I also did my first and only bookshelf tour. Wow, that was so long ago. And then I wanted to commit to another series, but I wanted it to be fun and light and something that I could accomplish easily because I was in burnout mode. So that's when I invented the childhood reread series, which is one of my favorites. It's so nostalgic. The reads were obviously more simple, but it was so fun getting to look back at them all. And a learning lesson for me there was it would have been easy for me to say, oh, I'm gonna post a video every single month. I'm gonna do a childhood rereads every single month, but I never committed to that publicly. And I really learned how much I want to put attainable goals to the public and keep stretch goals to myself, because I never want to be publicly disappointing to anybody or myself. And I still find it like a really frustrating thing when I watch somebody who says, oh, I'm gonna vlog every day for a month and then they just stop. Or like, I'm gonna read a certain amount of books a year and then they stop. And I'm always just like, just make your goal smaller. Make your public goal so much smaller and people can feel good about watching it. And if you have that stretch goal, like you can keep that to yourself. Like maybe I did want to post one every single month, but I said I'm gonna do one every other month or every 3 months, and that's what I did. So then when I failed at my own goal, nobody knew about it because everybody's human. You can't hold yourself to this incredible standard. But I think there's a balance for me in how much I want to tell people that I'm planning on what I'm doing. Anyway, then I was suddenly full force into the creative content again. I did the Visco Girls video. I did your book recommendations. I in one video bought a Jeep because of a vlog. The people I was watching the most were Jenny, Hannah, Gabby, Zoe, Elias, and Kat. I was also watching the heck out of Lexi, Chanel, Sajid, Chandler. I think maybe I was watching more than I was making. Those were the 2019 vibes. Some of my favorite books of the year. I read Watch Us Rise that year. I read A.M. Mclemore, Dig by A.S. King, and then some thrillers, Lock Every Door and The Turn of the Key, and then Bunny, Wilder Girls, and Moon in the Crusted Snow, and Middle Game. 2019, this is the year I look back with the most fondness as far as the reads that I had and the impact on my reading that existed. This is also the year that I officially was 50-50 split between YA and adult, because people kept telling me to stop reading YA and I was still loving it and finding things that I didn't get to read as a teenager, what I've talked about before. So this is the time when things started shifting, and every year past that I have read like 10% more adult than YA than the year before. 2020 obviously had its set of challenges. It was the first time I ever took more than like a week off from the internet, which is wild to think about. It was the first time I canceled any like big ambitious videos due to lack of ability to function as normal. It was also, I see here, my first time ever having demonetized content, which is interesting. I think a learning lesson was how to speak on social issues in a way that YouTube and AdSense would deem acceptable. Which like you just have to think about when you're existing on a platform that doesn't belong to you. It was my first time starting to consider how to ensure steady income from this platform as well. This is the year I did the year-long thumbnail experiment, which was obviously very fun, very interesting for me, seeing how my content could be perceived or perceived differently depending on how I was marketing myself. Considering I work in marketing is kind of a natural thing. It's the year I started a book club. I started the Literally Dead book club in 2020. I also reprised Bookmarked, which I hadn't done for a couple years, but in a way that was more chill and just about the books and a little more casual. So I could just redo the synopsis rather than talking about like book news and having information to share about movies and whatever. Tier Maker was really making waves at this time, so I made some content about that. I had professionals choose my TBR. Instagram controlled my TBR without knowing. That one was really fun. I was really into categorization this year. Like, I wanted to know what kind of reader I was. I wanted to do things based on my zodiac. I had the idea for my Enneagram. Being stuck at home, like working from home, did not lead to more content. Liam was also doing school from home. It's really done irreparable damage to an entire generation's like social skills and learning progress. And I don't know if we talk about that enough. The diversity scene in publishing, especially YA, was pretty amazing. I read things like Felix Ever After, Way to the Stars, Alatsue, some of my all-time favorite teen books. And then I read some really weird books that year. We Ride Upon Sticks, Split Tooth, I read some nonfiction I love, Disfigured and Bad Feminist, and I kind of refound my passion for horror, which I was dabbling in for, like, that's what I read as a teen, as a kid. And finding things that I really loved in horror was special. I think I was most inspired by Cindy, Naomi, Megan, Erin, Noelle, and Jessie in 2020. 2021, the most significant thing for me and my channel is that I started the channel membership. I started freelancing again, and in a really fulfilling way. And I quit my office job. I had gotten as much out of it as I was going to without moving up. I had given everything that I had to it, and realizing the balance and what I needed to prioritize in my own health and wellness, mental fortitude, is that the right word? I needed to not work full-time for myself and full-time on the internet. So that meant I had to make more money from the internet, and there's different avenues to do that, and I chose a membership, and I think it's just the most fun thing. I put stupid extra content I don't know what to do with there. What else is on here? I do like live streams. You know, when GeoGuessr was really coming up, I did a bunch of content about that, then Wordle, and now Dress to Impress. Having a bonus little book club is fun. Having extended vlogs, early cuts, just unnecessary footage, reacting to random things that could be copyright claimed as a way to like justify the stuff that I know is gonna get copyright claimed. And because of that and the financial stability that it gives me, thank you to everybody who monetarily supports my channel and my dreams, it has allowed me to make less money doing my freelance and doing things with small businesses and helping them with their marketing when they can't hire a full-time marketing strategist or social media manager. It's also, like, as far as my channel, which is what we're here to talk about, it's allowed me, especially in that year, it was really just a free year of doing whatever content. I wasn't worried about what ideas were gonna hit the algorithm. I was doing silly things that maybe only I cared about or a small group of people cared about, and also didn't have to worry about like the public videos that were gonna get demonetized, like my drunken high series, which I really just wanted to make.
Today I'm gonna film myself drinking some bourbon and book shopping. Oh no. Oh my gosh, how to pronounce knife. Right now, High Me is winning. Gummy worms. Sour. Sour gummy worms.
I can't monetize that. I also did a reading speed test. I started a reading journal series, which I honestly thought no one would care about, but people did. And then I started rereading old favorite books, which I didn't think people would really tune into. I started a series where I only read 2 books in each video, which again is not like the most engaging thing for the algorithm. I'd never really done that before. It was like 5-star predictions from you and me. I did some blind date with a book stuff. I did a video based on like authors or characters who shared my name. I read books in my vacation place. I read all the weird books my friend Erin sent me. I read my mom's childhood favorites that year. And I read some weird books. My favorites of the year that are really notable is Mrs. Death, Mrs. Death, This Thing Between Us, House of Leaves happened that year, My Hair is a Chainsaw, Tinfoil Butterfly. My favorite nonfiction was the Indian Act one, and somehow Dune. Somehow Dune was a favorite of mine. I hated so many of the books that I read, even though I was making content that I was passionate about. 2021 was not a good reading year for me. I think coming off of 2020 that was so successful, finding so many favorites, there was a handful of favorites for sure, but my my average rating for that year was a 3.6, and the last couple of years it had been higher, so I really dropped off and I just hated a lot of what I read. Liam just sent me what he's working on in woodwork, and I don't understand what it is, but I hope you can enjoy whatever is happening here. I thought he was making a puzzle. 2021, I don't know who I was watching or inspired by. I think that I was so focused on making sure that my membership was thriving and that I was putting all of the effort that I had into making, like, following through with what I said it was going to be, that maybe I was just really focused on myself. 2022, I was kind of just coasting. 2022 was a weird time. I really, looking at my content now as a whole, in the moment, I don't think I realized this, but it was really about finding out what I even liked and what I liked to read and who I was. I think I felt a little bit lost. So that's my learning lesson. I felt like my reading had peaked and I had found so many of my all-time favorites and things that I had been meaning to read for years that I just felt a little bit lost in what I needed to read next. I started a series where I was trying to find a hobby because I really needed to find a hobby. I started thinking maybe I'm really passionate about design again, and I did some like book prediction and designing videos, which I still love. Wordle really came on the scene. That became a passion. TikTok, I made content about that because it was really becoming a thing. I started the series of like what is a favorite author? Like what does that mean and how do I find it? And third time's a charm, and I need to find authors that I need to reread all of my favorite authors to find like all-time favorites. Just revisiting who I am as a reader. Things that I should have picked for old videos. Do my old favorites hold up? Reflecting on my old TBRs. I also had surgery that year. So I think part of my coasting in the first half of the year was just because of my health issues that I was having and then recovering from surgery. And then I started reading things that I'd never really read before to try to, I was trying to hone in my tastes better. I was reading cozy mysteries for the first time. I was reading romance for the first time in years and trying to figure out what I even liked. That year, some of my favorites are Death in Her Hands, Finley Donovan, Moon, The Moon Goddess, Kindred, Confessions, Book of the Most Precious Substance, Paul Bear's Club, the 5th season. It's so interesting because like it feels like it's a good year. My average rating was still at a 3.6 though, so it was the same as the year before. I found a good amount of 5 stars, but I didn't find very many things that I would say, oh, this is an all-time favorite book. So I think I was just a little bit lost, but I was watching more YouTube than ever for sure. I was watching Katie and Gavin, Mayana, Bree, Ashley, Mina, Stephanie, Jan, Smriti. And I think that's why 2023 was super community influenced. Again, I don't think I recognized this in the time or did it intentionally, but when I'm looking at the years of my channel, I can hone in on certain things that they are representing. And it's so much about community. I guess I felt this like renewed sense of connection that I hadn't felt in a little bit. And there was a whole new, I remember, crop of people coming into the space because of like TikTok. I was always being recommended new booktubers. There was people who had like 1 million subscribers who I'd never heard of before, people who were getting so many views and I had never seen them before. And it could have been my opportunity to like find new people in that way, but I don't think that's what happened for me. I think I need to hold on to the people that I've been watching and who've been here for a long time like me, and like make sure that I'm watching them and supporting them, because new people always scare me because I don't know who to trust. I don't know who I like. I don't know their reading taste. I haven't gotten to know them yet. I like when somebody has a backlog of a couple years of content that I can really delve into, get a feel for who they are as a person, and if I want to support them. That might sound weird and terrible. I think also that it's that I was starting to feel old and out of the loop with all of these new people. So I really wanted to cultivate the community that already existed for me. And also with making content, it wasn't about finding new people. I was making comfortable content, things that I already knew how to do, things that I already was interested in, like redoing old ideas and just making content for the people who are already here rather than trying to put outreach to find new people. So I was rereading. I was reading the first chapter of everything already on my TBR shelf, making a whole series out of that. I was really desperate for some horror wins, so I did a lot of horror type content. I was getting recommendations from authors that I've read before. I was like getting ideas from the Goodreads community that I have. I was getting ideas from the BookTube community that I had. I was getting ideas from you, books that you've DNF'd. I was reading your childhood favorites, and I was just keeping things really intimate. My Instagram Explore page recommends me things. So my Spotify recommends me things. Some of my favorites were A Mind Spreader on the Ground, A Little Devil in America, Natural Beauty, Leech, Emily Wilde, Nothing to See Here. Definitely ones that maybe it's a recency bias, but I do think like they're ones that have longevity in my favorites, but I'm not sure. And then we have 2024, we've moved to 2024. And I don't think I'm far enough away because I'm still inside of it to know what this year was, what I'll look back on and reflect on this year as being. Really, this year was focused on reading until I get a 5-star. It was reading a lot of older titles, which I don't think I've prioritized in recent years. Again, doing a lot of like the same types of videos, but with a little bit of a spin. So booktuber favorites, I turned that into a series. The author blurbs I was focused on. I was doing a series where I read like about dinosaurs, werewolves, sharks, trying to expand my reading taste a little bit. I was reading about underappreciated books, going in my TBR closet, hate comments, deciding what I read, trying to find good plot twists, hockey books, haunted houses, the New York Times, guessing if things are 1 or 5 star. I don't know if there's anything that I can grasp onto here. I don't think I had a strong identity in 2024. And now I'm trying to figure out, like, am I on autopilot? Am I not grasping? Like, since I don't have any goals, I don't have anything that I'm reaching for. Am I just kind of existing? A lot of people around me, here's what I'll say about this year. Everyone's lives seem really chaotic right now. Everybody in my life, online, offline, everyone's in such a transitional period, and I'm not. And so I just feel a little bit maybe disconnected. I feel like I'm not as engaged with people in real life or other booktubers as much as I used to be. And something that I am reflecting on a little bit as it's been 10 years is the realization that my life hasn't really changed in 10 years, and I'm trying to figure out if that's a problem. Is it because of my environment and my lifestyle and everything just being so consistent and safe? Which, like, that's such a good thing. Am I just existing in a simple bubble and not striving for anything more? Should I be striving for something more? Or am I just complacent? Is that an okay thing? Is that a bad thing? I feel just as committed to everything as I have before. I have just as much passion, just as much enthusiasm as I ever had. I feel like I'm putting just as much effort into everything. So at least mentally I feel good, but sometimes if I take a step and I look at myself in this capacity, I'm like, is something wrong with what I'm doing? Maybe it's because this year, let me pull up the rest of the average rating stats for you to see. This is gonna be my lowest average rating year since I started my channel. And not that my life is completely controlled by books, but I mean, I'm gonna have read 270 by the end of the year. And so yeah, a lot of my time is spent in fictional worlds. And if I'm not loving my time there, is it affecting my real life? I don't think that's true, but I am gonna have a 3.5 by the end of the year. Like, this is not my reading year. I think at this point I have only had maybe 4 books that I think of as all-time favorites that belong on a favorites list. And that's not a situation I have ever been in before. Not even when I had a 3.5 originally, when I first started my channel, November 2014, I started my channel because I had so many favorite books that I wanted to talk about, and I wanted to make sure that I put out a favorites video in December. I'm at an all-time low with my reading, which just feels weird. Like, I feel like I'm just as passionate about the books that I pick. I feel like I'm picking good books, but it's a weird one for me. In life, I feel great. I've never felt more fulfilled than I do right now. I've never been more financially, so I've never made as much money as I do now. I would say I've never had so many ideas, but I have. Like, I haven't run out of ideas. There's always so many things that I want to make and do and share with you. And I think that is great. I've never for one moment lost a passion for this. This is the greatest thing that I do, besides raising like a beautiful, incredible, talented child. Which, side note, one more thing to reflect on, 2014 was the first time I put Liam on the ice and taught him, I didn't teach him, he taught himself how to skate, and now he's the captain of his rep hockey team. So I think that's very cool that you have all been here for my life journey and the little bits of like real life that I put in my content. If you've watched this entire video, you obviously care about me. That feels overwhelming and wonderful. I don't know if I tell you how much I appreciate it as much as I should. I didn't mention at what point in these 10 years I hit 100K because I do not remember. I talked about 10, I talked about 50. I don't know when 100 happened. I didn't do anything for it. And I think it must have been during a difficult time in the world and I didn't feel like celebrating. But it's sad to me now that I can't pinpoint when that was, because not that numbers, obviously numbers aren't everything, but there's such a significant number of you. And I hope you know how much it means to me that you have been here, whether you've been here for a day or, let me do the math, 365 times 10. That was easier than I thought. Oh, but there have been some leap years. So whether you've been here for one day or 3,652, love you a lot. Thanks for this. Thanks for joining me on this trip down memory lane. I don't know what the point of this was, but I had to do something to acknowledge 10 years. 10 years is a long time. It has absolutely not felt like a decade of my life, but I'm happy to have spent that decade with you. So that's it for me today. And I'll see you soon for my official kickoff of 10 years. What am I gonna call it? 10 years of BookTube, a year worth of content reflecting on 10 years of BookTube, starting with the Goodreads Choice Awards from 2014. See you then. Bye!